So what you guys just saw is the way that my Miata is acting right now. That wasn't me turning the car off, actually. That was the car turning itself off. I'm actually really surprised that it even started today. A few days ago, I went to start the car, and as I was backing it down the driveway, the car shut off and lost power. Once I got it all the way down the driveway, it just rolled down. I turned the car back on. A couple seconds later, it just shut off again. And the reason why I'm even surprised that it turned on is because a couple days after that, I went to go start the car and diagnose it, and I couldn't even check the codes because the car wouldn't even start. Not sure what the exact issue is, honestly. It was throwing a 26 code for a solenoid valve. I was gonna check it and see if there's any more codes that I was throwing because I've never experienced this issue in the whole month that I've owned this car. There are a few things that I do suspect could be the issue, but the only thing to do now is really just try things out and see if it works. This car is a 91, so being a 30-year-old car, I do expect things to go wrong and parts to break, parts are old. With that being said, let's pop the hood. Alright, so here's my 1991 Mazda Miata with the hood open. When this issue first started happening, the first thing that popped up in my mind as to what could be wrong is this cooled air intake right here. This is an aftermarket Spectre air intake. As you can see here, there's some tape on the inlet and some tape on the cone as well. So funny story about this intake actually is when I brought this car over to one of my friend's houses after, about a week or two of buying the car. We opened up the hood, checked it out a little bit, just looking at everything. And when he went to actually just look at the intake, he kind of like placed his hand on it just slightly. He wasn't really applying much pressure or anything. This whole cone had actually fallen off the inlet, so it had disconnected completely from the tape that was attaching it to the inlet. I thought maybe the car was getting too much air, or I don't know what the issue was, but if you guys notice in the clip in the beginning of this video where I started the car, you can see the RPMs kind of fluctuate a little bit. It isn't doing it as majorly as it was before. A couple days ago it was doing it, it was fluctuating and then immediately dying after that. I thought maybe it's getting a little bit too much air, maybe not enough air. I don't know what the issue was, but I thought that's why it could make the RPMs fluctuate like that. Still not sure if that's the issue. It very well could be with this intake. I did go ahead and take all the old electrical tape off, completely retaped it, put brand new tape on here all around to make sure it's really tight. This thing is not going anywhere. It was really loose before, so that could have been an issue, and that was before I actually put the new tape on it. And it's really tight. It's not going anywhere. I'm still not sure if this is the issue, but it's still acting the way it is, not acting any better. So that brought me to my next conclusion. Without a proper scan or a code being thrown at me, it really is kind of difficult to tell what the exact issue is and where to pinpoint it. After doing some research online, asking around, and going to Miata forums, some of these people who have had an issue with their NA Miata similar to mine have found that the issue lies in the CAS. It might be a little hard to see on camera behind the valve cover, but if we take a look back here, this is your CAS. What the CAS does is it monitors the position of the crankshaft, which may be causing the engine to sometimes not even fire or die after just a few seconds of it turning on. After learning about this information, I went ahead and ordered a new, well not new, but a different crank angle sensor. There it is for you guys to have a better look at it. Starting at the back, the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the battery. The next few things I'm going to do is disconnect the ignition, the CAS, and the O2 sensor. I'm not sure if you actually need to disconnect the battery for this part of the process, but I went ahead and disconnected it just to be safe. Alright, so we have everything unplugged here. So we get the O2 sensor, the CAS plug, and here is the ignition plug. So next up, all there is a 12mm bolt holding the CAS into place right here. I'm going to be removing that, and once that's out, I'm going to wiggle the CAS out of place and put the new one in, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so everything is installed back into the car. I actually did end up off camera having to remove the valve cover to align the CAS with the cams because I couldn't get it lined up for the life of me. That way I was able to line up the bottom teeth of the CAS to line up with the cams. So once I took the valve cover off, it was a pretty smooth process. It went right in. All I have left to do now is reconnect the battery and time the engine. There's the old CAS, in case you guys were wondering. It's kind of hard to see, but the new CAS is right here. And I was plugging in the new CAS and I plugged the ignition back in, and I noticed when I went to plug in the O2 sensor back in, I picked up the wire to reconnect the O2 sensor, and then I realized that it was completely disconnected from the actual O2 sensor. Here is the timing light that I'm going to be using to time the Miata's engine. Hopefully once we're done with this and I do it correctly, we should be good to go. So I'm going to go over a quick overview of what I'm going to do. So I have the timing light right here. I have the negative end of the timing light attached to the throttle body right there to give the negative charge, and for the positive charge, some of you may not know this, but there is a blue plug right there with a piece of metal inside that you can use to clamp the positive end to. This way you don't have to, I know for a lot of these installs people have been hooking them up to the alternator, but this plug is a lot safer and easier to use for diagnostics and stuff like this. Actually, I believe it's there for that reason specifically, so that is what I recommend you guys use. I have this clamp right here on the #1 spark plug, and I also have made a bridge in the diagnostic box from the ground to the 10, just using a paper clip to put the car into a diagnostic mode. Alright, so all there is left to do now is to plug in this timing light and time the engine. Time to reconnect the battery. Alright, here we go, moment of truth. The car is in neutral, parking brake is up. I haven't started this car in probably a week and a half, so let's just get to it and see what happens, I guess. Let's start it one more time. There you have it, folks. Miata's still not fixed. So the crank angle sensor was not the issue for my Miata, but hopefully this video did help you guys if you guys do plan on replacing your crank angle sensor. Even though the car isn't fixed from the crank angle sensor, this whole process and install was a huge lesson. I learned a lot. I hope you guys still enjoyed the video, and I hope it even helped some of you guys. That's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully in the next episode of the Miata, we will get this thing fixed, and stay tuned for the next video because there's a really cool mod coming for the Audi. I don't want you guys to miss that. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.